and push the top back. I've been hustling for a long time and I can't stop that. Big like I'm that, best believe it, and them all back. Yeah, I be ballin' all the time. I'm point guard and a quarterback.
Hey, thank you everyone for tuning in, however, wherever you may be tuning in. I am Tyler Butler from Sports and Coaches Sports Media. This is going to be another one-on-one interview, part of our Women in Sports interview. And I have a extremely special guest with me today, I will be introducing shortly. One of the best in the country. I'm going to let her definitely dive into that. As you can see with the beautiful water and trees in the background, guys, we're going to be talking about fishing today, which is uncharted territory for myself. So I'm going to have her teach me a lot about what she do in the sport of fishing. As always, before we start everything off, this episode is brought to you by Hyman, the electrical supply guy. For the very best service for all of your plumbing and electrical needs, contact Corey Hyman at 479-301-8220. That is in the Arkansas area, but doesn't matter where you're located in the country, you can actually order from him, and I would highly recommend shopping with Corey. So today we are bringing in one of the best anglers in the country, Pam Horne. Pam, thank you so much for joining me today.
Absolutely. Thank you for the opportunity.
No, my pleasure. Also thank you for you and Corey for the beautiful merchandise that you guys wear on your boat. That has brought one of the biggest smiles on my face to see our logo represented with greatness.
Absolutely. We enjoy being able to show it off. We got some nice matching apparel, so we get to show it off to everybody.
Absolutely. Well, let's go ahead and get right into it. I always like to start from the very beginning. That video you sent me was spectacular, by the way. But in that video, I know you talked about how you came about loving fishing even at the age of 4 years old. So who introduced you to fishing, and what can you remember loving about it the most when you first got started?
Probably, well, my grandparents probably were the first ones that introduced me to it. We'd go camping with them. We did a lot of camping in Arkansas. We're from Louisiana, grew up there all my life, and we did a lot of camping in Arkansas, DeGray Lake, Washita River, the Washita Lake, probably several other lakes that I don't remember. I just remember myself and my middle brother, David. We spent the majority of the summers with my grandparents. They ran trot lines, fishing for catfish. And my granddad actually taught me how to use a fly rod when I was probably 8 or 9.
Wow.
But I know that we spent a lot of time with them. And I think then it was just, I know how much they enjoyed it, and it made me enjoy it because I knew, I mean, it was just that time together that we had no electronics. I mean, we didn't play games. We didn't have anything like that. I don't even know that we had a TV in the camper, but we would spend weeks and weeks on the lake, camping in the camper and just spending that quality time with my grandparents.
Yeah, and that's kind of going into my next question. Like, I hear so many fishing stories about the bonding and how it brings a lot of people together, and just like you mentioned, the tranquility of it, of being out there on the water. What do you think it is about fishing that has that impact on families that just seems to bring everyone together?
I think it's just nature. I mean, it's not, you don't really have to go out there and fight the ticks. You don't have to go fight the red bugs. You may have to fight the mosquitoes a little bit every now and then, but it's just the water and the peacefulness in the water. I mean, prime example, my baby brother and I, we argue like cats and dogs. And he likes to argue as much as I do. I pick at him all the time and tell him he'd argue with a free lunch sign if he was starving to death. But when we're in the boat, it's just we just click. I mean, we can fish in the boat for 8, 9, 10 hours and never have a crossword. It's just something about the water and the peacefulness and the tranquility.
Outside of Arkansas, is there like a favorite place in the country that is best for fishing for you, or just memory wise? Like, what is your favorite place to fish at?
Oh, right now my favorite lake in the whole world. Well, I've never been to the whole world, but my favorite lake is Bull Shoals, and it's in Diamond City. Just I fell in love with it. That was the first lake I fished. Probably when we moved up here, I fished the state tournament my first year here, and just I loved it.
Well, and what was it about that lake that drew your interest the most? Where he was like, "Well, this is it. This is heaven."
I think because it's so fishable. I mean, like I said, I grew up in Louisiana, so you fish muddy water down there. You have muddy water, cypress trees, and more cypress trees. And when I went to Bull Shoals, I mean, it's average, common for you to see 20 foot deep. The water's crystal clear. You have boulders. You have bluff walls that are just solid rock. You have, I mean, just you can see places in the bluff walls where the water is carved out places over the years of the water and the current going along there. And it's more fishable to me. Beaver is the same way. It's here in Rogers, but there is so much fishing pressure on beaver, and I don't think there's that much fishing pressure on Bull Shoals. So it's a lot more fun. It's it's easy to go up there. You can catch a largemouth, a spot, and a smallmouth all in the same fishing trip. So
And I'm telling you, man, I am determined now after talking to you and Corey and a couple other my friends trying to get me to fish. I'm gonna break down and have my first fishing trip. I don't know when, but
I,
eventually.
I hear there's one in our future.
There is. Yes. I could. We could be in Arkansas sometime this women basketball season. That's in the
uh,
works right now, just rumors. But if that's the case, I told Corey I'd get on the boat with him. It's
Absolutely.
part of the deal. But usually, well, let's kind of piggyback off my last question. But what is something, just kind of to go back to the childhood fishing with your family? What is probably your best memory of doing that? Something you probably would never forget.
Oh, I can. I mean, there's several instances that I'm told I can't remember, but I do remember. Like I said in the video, I mean, when I was 4 years old, I know my dad took someone that he was working with and his son to a little pond behind our house. And when I figured out that they had left me, I was really upset about it. And I can remember running down that road in my little white go-go boots coming up to my knees. And I was running down the road determined to find them. I knew where the pond was. I don't know that I would have ever been able to find it, but I was determined I was going to make that fishing trip. So
Yeah,
that's
look at that.
probably the earliest memory that I have.
Went from running down the road to now you're running in all these tournaments.
Absolutely.
Now, I know you said when you found fishing again, you believe that you found yourself, and now it's definitely your happy place. Can you explain how you came about feeling that way?
Absolutely. Brutally honest. I spent a lot of years in alcohol. Um, trying, well, I guess I was searching for the person that I wanted to be. And I thought alcohol made me that person. And in 2007, um, nothing really major happened. Thank God. He protected me many a times. But when the good Lord whispers to you, that's enough, you better take him at his word. And I did. And 15 years later, I'm clean and sober, and I, I'm living life. I mean, I actually live life now instead of searching for that life, and fishing is a part of it. It's just that tranquility and the peacefulness that I've searched for all my life, I guess.
And was there like a particular day that you can remember where that switch just happened?
Um, Probably when I moved to Arkansas. I worked in a prison for 17 years. So it wasn't nothing to work 12, 16 hours a day. And before I left the prison, I was probably working 17 and 18 hours a day, 7 days a week. And I never really had time to go fishing. I've had several times that I'd got to go with my son when we joined a little club back home, and just spending that time out on the water with him as an adult and a father and a husband was just, it did something to me just in the few times that I got to go with him. But once we moved to Arkansas and I started working in a job that I work 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, and I have that time to go and enjoy it, it's made the difference. And that's where I found myself.
Wow. Now let's get into the competition, some the fun stuff. You are an angler. Now, those that may not be too familiar with the sport, like what are some different titles that you have, or just in general in the sport outside of anglers?
Um, you have a co-angler. The anglers are just anybody fishing. You have a boater. They're usually the ones that operate the boat. They can also be a captain. You can be a boat captain for any of the youth tournament. Um, they're Once they're 16, they're able to, once they take a course, a boating course, they're able to operate a boat by themselves, but they have to have the adult in the boat with them. So you're still the boat captain, but you, if they're fluent in running and operating a boat, they can run the boat. You have co-anglers. They actually fish in the back of the boat. Um, you have bank fishermen. You have guides. A lot of the guides on Beaver, I'm friends with, message with them all the time. Striper fishermen. I mean, that's basically it. But there's a lot of possibilities in all of them.
Yeah, and see, I had no idea that there was that many different spots open, or different positions you can fulfill on a boat.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, because a lot of people are just not too familiar. They see it on TV or they go out just for a hobby. But from a competitive standpoint, there's always some type of strategy that comes into place with it.
it is. There's a lot of people that, I mean, they overthink it, I think. Um, Thank
Yeah,
you,
Steve.
Stephen. Um, I just enjoy it. And I mean, I know you got a question coming up about a youth angler, so I'm going to go ahead and jump ahead into that one. But fishing with youth anglers just reopens your eyes to the sport, and I still enjoy it. I still get excited when I catch a fish. But probably I started out fishing with my nephew in youth tournaments, and just seeing the excitement and that newness in their eyes and in their personalities, it's undescribable. I mean, it takes you back to when you first started fishing. I mean, I still have a good time when I go. Um, the next angler that I had, probably that I spent a lot of time with, was Parker Adair. Learned a lot from him, and you hope in return that you're able to give something back to them. And then I started fishing with Cohen, and Cohen's really changed my mindset on how I fish. It's not so much competitiveness to me anymore. It's just, did I fish clean? Did I catch all the fish that I set the hook on? And did I catch my limit? Um, Cohen and I probably had the best season of anybody I've ever fished with, and we've yet to win a tournament. We've yet to place in the money. but we have fished consistently every time. And if I'm not catching fish, he's got my back. He's catching the fish. Couple of times when I've caught the fish and he's not having a good day, we complement each other really well. And I love to watch his little wheels turning. I mean, he's very methodical in what he does, and he could care less who he's fishing against. It doesn't matter who he beats or where we come at in the weigh-in line. It's, did I fish clean and did I catch my limit?
And kind of to go off that competitive wise, how, I guess, what goes all into it in moving up the ranks? Is it the size of the fish that you catch, the amount of time that you have? What goes all into that?
It depends on what you're fishing. If you're fishing kayaks, yes, they go by length. And the bigger tournaments, you go by weights. If you go out and you catch 10 pounds, you have another angler comes in and weighs in, they may have 10.5 pounds. So it's just the most weight that you can get with your 5 fish.
Wow. Okay. And you mentioned earlier fishing with the youth. I do think that's one of the most awesome things about your sport, because you don't see a lot of different in any other sports where the age group can cross over no matter what. But
I've seen kids 6 years old fishing these tournaments.
that is, you're not going to get that anywhere else.
No.
What do you see in Cohen, excuse me, that makes him so special? Because I've heard so much about this kid, and we're going to have him on in the upcoming months.
He's 16 years old. He has his own vehicle, and he's up at 6 o'clock on a Saturday morning on the lake.
Determined.
Gotta
love. I cannot wait to get him on. Just heard so much, and I think that having you and Cohen on is really going to open a lot of people's eyes about competitive fishing as well.
I mean, it's something. When I grew up, teenagers, we hung out at the mall. We drove a quarter of a mile stretch back and forth, and I don't know that I ever really did it, but I heard about it a lot. But when you get to a lake on a Saturday morning at 5 or 5:30 in the morning, and you see 40, 50, 60 teenagers out on the lake that early in the morning, it does something to you, because there are so many things that they could be doing that's not worthwhile. But here they are on a Saturday morning before daylight, sitting out on the water in a boat.
Now, you be in the position that you're in. At the bottom of the screen, of course, I have a list of everyone that you wanted to give a special shout out to. What does it mean to have that type of support from the community and companies that believe in you not only as a person, but as an angler?
It means a lot. Their monetary support, the merchandise support, it goes a long way. You have entry fees that you have to pay. You have lodging that you have to pay. You have gas that you have to pay, and not only for your vehicle, but for your boat. And just having that 10% discount or that 25% discount, that goes a long way in helping you get the baits that you need, because everywhere you go, there's something different about the area that you're fishing. Excuse me. The lakes that we fish here are clear. Clear water, not a lot of current. I'll be fishing the Lady Bass Anglers Classic next month in Alabama on the Coosa River in Lincoln, Alabama. And it's all about current. It's not as clear. And you're fishing for one type of fish mainly, where up here you can catch any variety of the 3 fish, but you have a whole different set of baits and things like that you have to take when you go down there. So you've got to buy different baits, and it helps when you have companies that you can call and say, hey, I need a bait this color and this color blades, and they get it for you.
And now, also, like, for those that have never attended a Bassmaster event, and I know that they're throwing them up on ESPN a lot, so you can now see them on one of the biggest networks. What are they missing out on? Describe one of those events.
You get there early in the morning. A lot of people don't get there early in the morning. They'd rather come later in the day at the weigh-in. But that early morning, I mean, if you're not an early riser, it may not be such a big deal. But if you have family there, you get there early in the mornings and it's cool on the water. You've got everybody backing their boats in. Everybody's all nice and friendly and good morning, how you doing? And then when they start calling your boat numbers or your names out when you take off, it's just that adrenaline. It's just that I'm somebody right now. And you fish all day to try to catch your limit or the most weight that you can catch. And when you come back in and you've got people sitting in the crowds for you and they're clapping for you or rooting for you, it just, I mean, because you get that one-on-one time with whoever the announcer is. It's not you and a baseball team. It's not you and a basketball team. It's you and a fish. What it basically boils down to is you competing against the fish. There may be 50 other anglers in the tournament, but it's you and that fish. You've got to be the one to outsmart that fish. It doesn't matter if you outsmart the other 50 anglers. You got to outsmart that fish to be able to finish in the tournament where you want to.
Yeah, and with fishing, one of my favorite shows to watch is a show called River Monsters. I think that guy, I think he is the most fascinating person on earth. The fact that he knows all these different languages, but he goes to so many different countries and somehow find fish that no one else can find. But they always use this term as he's a master fisherman. What does it take to get to that level?
I don't know that there are any master fishermen.
Oh, all right.
I
We're
know
breaking
there
the
are
code.
professional fishermen. And I mean, we all have bad days. It doesn't matter who you are. Kevin Van Dam is probably one of the most notable fishermen on the planet right now. And he has bad days. And sometimes the fish outsmart him. Jacob Wheeler, he's one of the Bass Pro Tour professionals. He has a bad day. And it's those days that you have to take advantage of it. I mean, we have some of the ladies and the lady bass anglers that are awesome. We've got one lady that's one of the two ladies that's ever competed in the Bassmaster Classic. Only two ladies. And she's one of them. And she's good. She's really good. But she has a bad day every now and then.
And with the lady anglers, and I also remember you talking about there was a certain situation where you first discovered them. Can you remember that day?
2018, we were fishing a club tournament with the Northwestern Arkansas Bassmasters. And we passed by the Sugarloaf Inn going to the boat ramp. And I saw the Lady Bass Anglers vehicle somebody's vehicle was sitting there, and they had the Lady Bass Anglers sticker on the side of the truck. And it was like seeing a major league fishing professionals truck sitting there. I guess it stuck in there subconsciously. And I mean, I don't know that I ever really just thought about it anymore, but all that day on the lake, I kept looking at all the boats going by or looking at the boats when we would go by and thinking, that's ladies out here fishing. They're fishing a big tournament. And it stayed in my mind for 2 years. And I was actually doing a podcast with my brother and my sister-in-law, H and Rhonda. And Rhonda made a comment about me. When was I going to fish the Lady Bass Anglers? And I was like, well, I don't know that I ever will. And one of the founders of the Lady Bass Anglers Association, Cheryl Bowden, sent me a message that night before I even got home, which I don't live but maybe 100 yards from my brother. But she asked me what my membership number was, and I told her that I didn't have one. I hadn't joined the Lady Bass Anglers. And she just sent me an invite, and she's like, we would love to have you come fish with us. And it started from there. And I mean, the first tournament that they were supposed to fish was on the Cane River in Natchitoches, Louisiana, which was back home. And I was looking forward to it, got all psyched up to go to it. And then they had, I think maybe a tornado or something come through there. So it got canceled. And they had it on a lake in Missouri, on Truman Lake. And it was a wild week for me. But my nephew Joseph was fishing the nationals for the youth tournaments. We had a club tournament that weekend on Dardanelle in Russellville, and we left my house, went to Russellville, fished the tournament down there on a Sunday, left there and went to Tennessee to watch my nephew fish on Monday and Tuesday. I left early Wednesday morning and come back to Missouri and fished Thursday and Friday with the Lady Bass Anglers, my first tournament, and I wound up fourth overall.
Wow. That is incredible. That is an incredible story. So, lastly, and hate to end everything, but this is again, Pam. This has been a pleasure speaking with you. Um, what is the goal, the overall goal for your career, and how do you plan on celebrating after you achieve that goal?
Well, joining the Northwest Arkansas Bassmasters, my goal was always to finish in the top 10 because we have some very good anglers, very good anglers. I'm the only female they have in the whole club right now. And it was always my goal to just stay competitive with them, just to hang in there with them. And just the top 10 was always my goal. My first year, I got Rookie of the Year. My second year, I got ninth place, which was fine with me as long as I'm in that top 10, because we probably have 20 to 25 off and on that compete competitively. And I think I won um, 2019, I got fifth place. And that year was the year that I decided I'm not going as a co-angler anymore. I want to take my own boat. I want to go where I want to go and when I want to go. And I won fifth place that year. And the top six anglers actually get their entry fees for the state tournament paid. So really and truly, your goal should be in the top six. But mine was always just the top 10. I was happy with that. So winning the fifth place actually got me paid for to go to state that year. So it's been a goal since then to stay in the top six. And then 2020, they left the door open a little bit too wide, and I placed first in Angler of the Year. So that made me really happy. And last year I got fourth place, and this year currently I'm sitting in second place. So just
Wow.
I think my goal really is I don't see it as a career. Um, Takes a whole lot of money and a whole lot of time, and I'm a single person. I work and I have to work to pay my bills. But I think just competing and continuing to compete. I'm 57 years old. I don't feel 57. So I'm not ashamed to say that I'm 57. But when I stop and think about it, I'm 57 years old and I'm still competing with the best of the best.
Right.
And I think that's just my main goal, is just to stay competitive and stay open to ideas and learning. I mean, when you quit learning about something, it's time to quit because you know it all. And I don't think I'll ever know it all. And I just want to keep that passion alive in anybody that I fish with, anybody that gets in the boat with me. I just want to make sure that they see the passion and they feel the passion and they develop the passion.
Wow. If you quit learning about something, it is time to quit. I'm I need to put it on a t-shirt. That was that was really good. Well, Pam, thank you so much for taking your time out tonight. I'm so glad we was able to have this conversation and do it live for everybody to chime in and tune in.
Well, Tyler, I appreciate you and giving me the opportunity. And I can't say enough about Corey Heinman. I mean, he's a guy that's got a heart of gold. He's a servant and love him to death.
Absolutely, Corey. you're putting together magic, my man. And just from that testimony, if you guys don't think that you should be shopping with Corey, you're missing out. Again, this show and all of my women in sports are interviews in general that has to do with the Arkansas area are sponsored by Hyman, the electrical supply guy. Again, the very best in Arkansas, but not only in Arkansas, probably in the absolute country, because you can order any type of plumbing and electrical needs from the website. But make sure you give them a call at 479-301-8220. Pam, thank you so much again for your time.
Thank you, Tyler.
Thank you.
Bye bye.